Good morning, friends. Welcome to our next learning session. And today I'm going to tell you about diabetes mellitus. But I am not going to tell you the treatment of diabetes mellitus and complications and many other things. I'm just restricting today's lecture to introduction to diabetes mellitus. So to understand diabetes mellitus, you must understand that there is a hormone produced in the body called insulin. Insulin can help at number of stages. One important is that it helps glucose to be burnt and produce energy for the use of the body. Now, before we go to this, let us first understand this diagram. Look at this picture, friends. Look at this picture carefully. This is the head side of the patient, and this is the foot end of the patient. This is the left side, and this is the right side. I am bringing it close to you to make you conversant. The pictures are somewhat inverted when I am pointing out, but when you see the video, you will understand that this is the right side, this is left side, this is the head side, and this is the foot side. And in this picture, what do you see? You see here, this is the stomach. You know, stomach is present in your tummy on the left side. Now, you should also understand that when we stand erect, the chest part is known as thorax, and the lower part, which we commonly in layman language say the stomach, actually it is called abdomen. So this is the area of the abdomen, and in the abdomen, this is the stomach. Stomach, not what we are talking of, this is all stomach. This is the stomach, the sac in which the food goes after you swallow it. So from the head side, the food enters here and comes here, and then it goes to the intestines. Now in this picture, you see here, this is the pancreas. This is the colon, large intestine. This is a large intestine, and this is a small intestine. So you now know that this is the pancreas. What does the pancreas do? Now, be conversant with these pictures. This is again a picture of your stomach area. That is what we call abdomen. That is the area below the chest and above your hip bones. This area this is the right side. There is a liver in the right side, and this is the stomach. This is the left side. On the left side, you find that this is the stomach, and just behind the stomach, this is the pancreas. This is the pancreas. Remember, this is the pancreas. I am stressing it again so that you can become conversant with the anatomy of the structures of the abdomen. Insulin is actually produced in this pancreas. Now let us look at another diagram to elaborate the thing which I am trying to explain you. Is this diagram. This is the gallbladder. This which means it is the right side. This is the area of the small intestine which we call as duodenum. This is the small intestine, beginning first part of the small intestine, which is making a C-shaped structure here. This is called duodenum, and this is the left side, and this big structure on the left side is called spleen, which you in layman language say tilly, but this is in medical part it is the spleen. This is gallbladder, that is the pith. Gallbladder is here, and you also know that people get stone here in the gallbladder and get lot of trouble. That is not our today's topic. Our today's topic centers around this pancreas. This is the pancreas, and here in this picture, it is beautifully demonstrated that this rounded portion is the head of the pancreas. This is the body of the pancreas, and this is the tail of the pancreas. Here, somewhere near the tail area, are located specified cells called beta cells of Langerhans. These beta cells are the one which produce insulin for burning our glucose. Remember, this is very important that beta cells produce insulin. Beta cells produce insulin. Now, what happens when you eat food? When you eat food, the food goes to from the food pipe to the stomach, and from stomach, after churning and mixing with juices, it goes to the intestines, and in the intestines it breaks into different constituents. The carbohydrate in your diet, like wheat flour or rice or sugar, they are all broken down to glucose, and it is the glucose which is absorbed from the intestine. Your carbohydrates cannot be absorbed from that. It is the glucose. The simplest form of carbohydrate is the glucose, and it is the glucose which is absorbed from the small intestine and goes into the blood. As glucose goes into the blood level of glucose rises. It is the blood glucose which we call blood sugar. So the level of blood sugar rises. Remember, what is blood sugar? Blood sugar is actually blood glucose, which is coming from the intestines. But there are some other sources of glucose also in the body. The liver can also produce glucose by converting the stored carbohydrate in the liver. This stored carbohydrate in the liver is called glycogen. Our similar type of stored food is in the plants, which is called starch. Starch is carbohydrate, glycogen is also carbohydrate, and starch, when digested, becomes glucose and gets absorbed into the blood. From the blood, under the action of insulin, this glucose burns and produces carbon dioxide and water and liberates energy which is stored in the body as chemical energy. So I will not tell you the various names, but those who are interested, they may learn it. It is called ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. But those who have not read biology and medical science, they can simply know that the energy is produced and it is stored in the body as chemical energy and can be utilized whenever the need arises. Now, what is then diabetes? Diabetes is a metabolic syndrome. It is a disorder of metabolism in which the common feature, there are various types of diabetes. The common feature is hyperglycemia. The common feature is hyperglycemia. What is hyperglycemia? You know, hyper means more than normal, and glycemia means sugar. So when there is more blood sugar or increased blood sugar, the condition is called diabetes mellitus. Now, what are the types of diabetes mellitus? This is very interesting, because when we were students and for quite some time we were taught that there are two types of diabetes: juvenile onset diabetes mellitus and maturity onset diabetes mellitus. Juvenile diabetes usually occur below the age of 20 years, and maturity onset diabetes mellitus usually occur after the age of 40 years. The typical features in juvenile diabetes mellitus are polydipsia, polyphagia, polyuria, and loss of weight. Now what are these things I am talking about? For non-doctors, I will explain it. Polyphagia means increased appetite. This is not increased appetite that instead of 3 chapatis I am taking 3.5 chapatis or 4 chapatis. It is something like this. The patient eats 10 or 15 chapatis and feels still hungry. That is polyphagia. What is polyuria? Increased amount of urine, both in frequency and quantity. That is the passing more urine than normal. And thirdly, I said the polydipsia. Polydipsia means increased thirst. So thirst is also increased in the same way as the appetite. The person drinks not 2 or 3 glasses extra than normal, but he drinks at least 20 glasses of water or even more. That is polydipsia. And despite eating so much, this person starts losing weight. The patients come to the doctor, or children were brought to the doctor that the child is not gaining weight, he is eating too much and still he is not gaining weight. The reason is this diabetes mellitus. Then came some change concept. This was age related classification. Then came the classification related to the treatment. Now when you require insulin for the control of diabetes, and if you don't give insulin, the patient goes into ketosis. This type of diabetes was called insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, IDDM. Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus is one in which you require insulin to control your diabetes. And the other variety was non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. N has been added in addition. That means NIDDM, NIDM. That is the non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Here you do not require to give patient to insulin to control the sugar. You can use certain drugs to lower the blood sugar and control the diabetes of the patient. But there are still flaws that the juvenile onset diabetes, as we said, it occurs in children. This similar type of situation can occur in later age groups, and the other type of diabetes can occur in children also. So due to this reason, these classifications did not hold. So the latest classification is to divide diabetes into type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. In type 1 diabetes mellitus, the insulin producing cells, as I showed you in the pancreas towards the tail area, these cells get destroyed. And who destroys these cells? There are antibodies which destroy the beta cells of pancreas. Actually, beta cells are producing insulin, and the insulin producing cells are destroyed by antibodies. These bodies are developed by the body itself, therefore these are called autoantibodies. So diabetes type 1 is an autoimmune disease in which autoantibodies destroy the beta cells of pancreas, and therefore there is markedly diminished insulin secretion or no secretion at all, and the result is the patient goes into high blood sugars and into other complications which I am not talking today. The other variety I said type 2. Type 2 is again a heterogeneous group. There is marked insulin resistance, and there are many other situations which we will discuss sometime when we talk about type 2 diabetes mellitus. But main thing is that there is a marked insulin resistance. Insulin is not becoming effective. Your body is producing insulin, but it is not effective. There can be a number of reasons. The structure of insulin has changed. Some change has occurred in structure. Or the receptors where the insulin was to act has also undergone some changes, so that insulin does not create the effect it should create normally. Now, the result of all these things is that glucose is not burnt and blood sugar goes on rising. Then, why the blood sugar uh, what does it do? Why blood sugar rises? As I said before also, that there is a increased production of glucose by the liver, or there is a decreased utilization of glucose as the deficiency of insulin, or there is increased glucose production, decreased glucose utilization, and there is impaired action. Raised blood sugars also leads to number of other complications and metabolic abnormalities, like it causes changes in the blood fats, that is blood lipids. It is called diabetic dyslipidemia, in which the HDL cholesterol is low, LDL cholesterol is high, and triglycerides are high. This is a specific type of dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia means abnormality of the lipids means fats. Now, what changes these produces? These produces lot of changes, and I am going to count some of the important abnormal changes. The diabetes mellitus is the leading cause of end-stage renal failure or end-stage renal disease. What is end-stage? End-stage means the kidney function has been reduced to less than 10%. So there is hardly any kidney function left. That is the end. Either you put the patient on dialysis or you do the kidney transplant. Well, there are difficulties in each step at everything. You can simply prolong the life, but how long you can go with these supportive measures still is questionable. So ultimately it comes to that there should be some way out, and another way out is to do the pancreas transplantation. Well, all these things are going on at present, but let us see what happens in the future. The diabetes mellitus is the leading cause of lower limb and non-traumatic lower limb amputations, and it is also the leading cause of adulthood blindness. As well as diabetes mellitus also predisposes to the cardiovascular disease. Are there any other forms of diabetes mellitus? Yes, there are plenty of one. MODY is one, MODY, maturity onset diabetes of the young. The gestational diabetes mellitus is the other one. I'll tell you a little about gestational diabetes mellitus. The gestational diabetes mellitus means the diabetes occurring during pregnancy. Now, if the patient in the first 3 months, that is called first trimester, if in the first 3 months of pregnancy patient develops high blood sugars, probably it is the pre-existing diabetes mellitus which was missed or not diagnosed. But in the second trimester, that is next 6 months, and third trimester, that is the last 3 months, if blood sugar becomes high in the range of diabetes mellitus, then it is called gestational diabetes mellitus. After pregnancy, the blood sugars revert back to normal. But in 5 to 10% of cases, the blood sugars may remain high, the patient may be diabetic. But these patients are always at increased risk of developing diabetes mellitus later in life. Therefore, they must be kept under care and careful screening. Every 3 months, they should get their blood sugar checked up, and that is how you can prevent the damage to the body. What is pre-diabetes? What is pre-diabetes? It is a phase in the development of diabetes mellitus. In diabetes mellitus, the blood sugar goes on rising slowly, and but it has yet not entered the definition of diabetes mellitus. This phase is called pre-diabetes, and when the sugar reaches a particular level, then it is called full-fledged diabetes mellitus. Now we know that type 1 diabetes develops before the age of 39 years, and type 2 occurs later in life. Why diabetes is seen with diseases like acromegaly and Cushing syndrome? Now, acromegaly is a condition in which growth hormone secretion is increased, and this occurs in the adults, and since the height cannot go up, the other bones like jaw, for example, becomes prominent and protuberant. The fingers become broad and fat-like. So this type of condition is called acromegaly, and growth hormone is opposite to insulin in its actions, and therefore it causes the rise in blood sugar. Similarly, in Cushing syndrome, there is an increased secretion of steroids. Steroids, most of you are conversant with the name steroids. These are drugs being used very commonly and being misused by general practitioners, particularly those who are not from the medical field or allopathic field. They are also using steroids for bronchial asthma and for allergies and for many other things, and the result is that they are creating more complications. Now, how do you diagnose? If the patient has typical symptoms like polyuria, polydipsia, and weight loss, and the random blood sugar is equal to or more than 200 milligram per 100 ml of blood, then it is a case of diabetes mellitus. If we do only fasting blood sugar, and if it is equal to or more than 126 milligram per 100 ml, then again we say that patient has diabetes. Of course, we always like to confirm it by a second sample on a different day, so that we can rule out any mistakes in the testing. And thirdly, if you do 75 gram glucose tolerance test, what is glucose tolerance? I just tell you. Then the blood sugar at 2 hours, if it is equal to or more than 200 milligram, the patient has diabetes mellitus. What is glucose tolerance test? This is called oral glucose tolerance test. In this, we give oral 75 gram of glucose in water solution, and patient drinks it. We first take the fasting sample, then we take sample at half hour, 1 hour, 1.5 and 2 hours, and measure blood sugar. We take corresponding samples of urine also and measure blood sugar in urine sugar in those samples. And finally, we know from it that what has happened. There is other way of also that by doing hemoglobin A1C, but it is usually not a preferred procedure. But if hemoglobin A1C is more than or equal to 6.5%, then the person is diabetic. But usually hemoglobin A1C is kept reserved for assessing the level of diabetic control, and the more the hemoglobin A1C, the poorer the control. So friends, this is the introduction to diabetes mellitus, and you must learn this because it is such a common problem even in our country that we keep seeing different type of complications of diabetes mellitus. And therefore I may add a word here that the diabetes may be completely asymptomatic, particularly in the as I said, the obviously onset diabetes mellitus are the type 2 diabetes mellitus, it is the insulin resistance which is causing the problem, and patient may not have symptoms, and ultimately patient may present to you with some sort of complications which we call chronic manifestations of diabetes mellitus, like peripheral neuropathy. What is peripheral neuropathy? There are abnormal feelings on the feet and hands, like insects are crawling, or there are feeling of pinpricks, or there is numbness in the area. These type of things can occur, and as I said, that the patient may come up with typical angina pectoris, or maybe that it is also not typical, but patient has ischemic heart disease, and when you test you find that patient turned out to be diabetic. So friends, I think I stop at this moment, because this is a very big topic, and we will be repeating many things when I come to, but today is just introduction to the diabetes mellitus. And as I've been saying repeatedly, please only subscribe on the YouTube after opening the link. I am sending you the link to make it easy for you to reach the video. Do not give your comments or thumbs up or likes on the messenger, and save my time by just commenting, opening the video and commenting in the comment box, or even if you don't have time, you give a like by thumbs up on the YouTube rather than on the messenger, because whatever you write on messenger has no significance at all. And you must understand this thing, that messenger is being used only to convey you the link. So friends, thank you very much. I will stop. It is getting too late for today's talk.